today is the official holiday of marking the birth of Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, his technical birthday was yesterday, which happened to have been my birthday. And if he were alive today, incredibly, he would be 94 years old. And so that tells you how long ago it was that he was assassinated. So for most people living today, he was not a contemporary figure, but a historical figure. Unfortunately, well, I'll backtrack. There were many, and there are always a lot of gatherings about, or events marking this occasion. But one of them did not go over well with a lot of people. And you wonder, what in the hell? People are even thinking sculptors by basically just taking a couple of sets of arms and trying to make an embrace out of it. And it was based, the only thing is, it was inspired by a photograph of Dr. King and his wife Coretta Scott King embracing when he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, I think it was. But this damn thing was, this monstrosity, this bronze monstrosity, cost, I think, the city of Boston something like $10 million. And I have to say that they got rooked. It looks like Clifford the Big Red Dog took a giant shit in the middle of the town. Or there's other people have noted it even looks more obscene than that. And especially depending on what angle you're looking at it. It's just hideous. So they show a little bit of film here. And it's horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. If the sculptor had put on heads on this thing, I wouldn't complain about it. I don't think anybody would. But that's not the way you remember a civil rights leader. He was already assassinated in life. And then you're going to turn around and cut him and his widow into body parts to make some kind of point. And anyway, some of the King family inexplicably supported this. Others didn't. It says here, dignitaries from around Massachusetts joined with the King family at the unveiling of the 20-ton statue on the Boston Common, where the Kings had their first date. Okay, so it was historic. And not far from the Pac-Man bandstand where King spoke back in 1965. Let this monument be a reminder to us, even here, that history remembers our embraces best of all, and that we have in us still the capacity and the call to love, former Governor Deval Patrick said ahead of the unveiling. Anyway, it was all real positive at it, and it sounds like Martin Luther King III said he owes his existence to Boston because that's where his parents met. So some of the family was impressed, but a lot of people thought this was a monstrosity. I side with those who regard it as a monstrosity. It's hideous. Anyway, the sculptor, the culprit who created this hideous statue or monument or whatever you call it, Hank Willis Thomas, the artist who designed the embrace, so he was a designer, brought his toddler on stage and gave her a chance to speak as well. She had several messages for the crowd. Happy New Year, I love you. And then after a dramatic pause, boo. Boo in front of that thing that looks like poo. And it says here the process to honor Dr. King, or the Kings, began 5 years ago with the idea and competition between 126 artists conceptualizing what a monument to MLK would mean. And if this is the best they could do, I hate to think what the others looked like. That is hideous. It's not, and I wish the King family would have been a little bit more critical. There was one relative, a distant relative or relative of Coretta Scott King, who expressed his outrage, but mostly the family thought, oh, this is great. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. I mean, no, it really isn't. Not only was Martin Luther King Jr. physically assassinated by James Earl Ray in Memphis back in 1968, but his legacy is being assassinated by cutting him up and making him into a pair of arms and making his widow a pair of arms. So no, this thing was not really an appropriate way to honor him. It just looks like dog shit there. You have to hold it. It has to be turned a certain way for it to make any sense. That looks like somebody holding up a pile of dog shit. Really and truly. And what, you know, just shame on that sculptor. Shame on the city of Boston for even thinking that was even appropriate. And I'm sorry that so many of the family members of the Kings thought this was a good idea. And that is it.